adulthood, as probably many of your fallen away Catholics that I know are at this table feel the same way. And I really didn't come out as an atheist until my son married a fundamentalist Christian. And that was an eye-opening experience for me. So since then I've become very politically involved, and my husband's the president, and I'm the secretary of the Americans United for Separation of Church and State, which is in, chapter here. So we're fighting as much as we can. Oh, thanks.
I didn't write the name, because I didn't know what to write.
Okay, I will. He's renewing his membership, that's what we're doing.
You reminded me when you said that. I was like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you. $25 in there, just want to give me a minute.
Yes, I do, remind me later.
Anyway, so that's me. So who wants to start?
Not me, I'm just
Scott.
Hi, I'm Scott. Most of you know me. Born and raised locally, raised in a secular Jewish household. My father was always very suspicious of religion in general and of Orthodoxy in particular. So when I used to work with the Soviets, who were all sort of atheists, I thought, well, this is nice, it's convenient, this fits in. How little I expected them to come out of the woodwork when the Soviet Union fell apart. Most of the people who wore the Red Star and were members of the Communist Party turned out to be very, very religious indeed. I haven't read anything recently, so I don't have much to share today, but I do attend meetups. I have one of my own north of Seattle, and the Goldbergs meetup, which meets every other week. I totally agree with Penny, and probably with most of you, that separation of church and state is very important. I would say it's the most important issue, because if you don't have separation of church and state, not much else matters. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Jerry.
Do we need to stand?
No, you don't. As long as you use
I'll just skip
the
it
big people.
real quick. I'm Jerry. I think I've introduced myself many times already. So, but like Wendy, I'm ex-Catholic, formerly brainwashed Catholic, or we were programmed. I think we're now saying it's better to say programmed.
That works.
Anyway, I too manage a couple of meetup groups, on the board of a couple groups, including Americans United with
Penny and Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is Dave here?
No, he had something to do at home.
Oh,
He had to
okay.
write something.
So, and just still fairly active in the groups.
Yeah, and a very proud atheist.
Oh, definitely.
You call yourself that.
I'm a humanist.
Yes.
Well, no, sorry, rephrase that. I'm an atheist, but I like the term humanist,
Yes.
because it's more. It's not define myself in a negative term as what I don't do.
Yeah, okay, I see. Okay, Damien.
I'm Damien, and I'm an axiological atheist. And for anybody who doesn't know, axiology is a value theory. It's both a philosophy and it's a social science. And I hold more to the social science since it is science-based, and thus religion sometimes uses the other side of it, the philosophy side. But anyways, I'm an axiological atheist, and also I'm a very strong humanist because of that same reason. I have a very, very strong disbelief, more than probably most people. I'm a rationalist and not a skeptic. And I read this one article from a scientist recently that I thought was very interesting. He said that we need to stop using atheism and start using rationalism. I mean, of course, I agree since I'm a rationalist, but he said because really what they are is a-rationalists. We're rationalists and they are a-rationalists. We shouldn't be like we're the one disagreeing with fantasy. They're the ones not agreeing with reality. I was like, yeah, there you go. So I see them, I agree. I was like, yeah, we need to start calling them a-rationalists. But I had a very, very brutal childhood and very strict religious background and a religious cult. And then my mom divorced, and she was evangelical, Pentecostal, and so I had more extreme religion. And I went to college and learned real facts, and it changed everything.
Look back.
So,
Alan.
Oh, I'm Alan from Sumner, formerly of Kirkland. 12 or 13 years ago. I call myself a tentative atheist. Really, I'm an orthodox atheist, except I'm tentative also because my bent is science. And the scientific method is a process of discovery. And, you know, it's conceivable that we would discover new particles, forces, fields, waves that we haven't discovered yet. So I'm just allowing for that possibility. Let's see. Why did I wear this shirt? Well, because I wasn't quite sure why I bought it, and I thought, well, whether I would ever wear it, but
Well, thanks for
here I
sharing.
am.
Wow. Might be gray outside, but is there sunny on your chest? Okay, Kayla?
I'm Kayla. I'm also very much a proud atheist and humanist. I actually just started up a secular student alliance. We had our first meeting on Monday.
Oh, good.
Monday, if anyone wants to come, you don't have to be a student. It just
Is that the UW?
no, it's actually at Green River.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, we're still kind of figuring out the structure of the meetings and stuff, but yeah, Mondays from 1 to 2.
Every Monday from
Yep.
1 to 2.
And your religious background is?
I was in a Presbyterian church
Okay.
for a few years, really involved, like in the youth group and all that stuff. And then I had a girl. And then I got kicked out of the church, and it woke me, basically.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Clay?
Hi, Clay. I actually fairly recently became an atheist. I was born in Texas, and my whole family's from Texas, so there's a lot of religion behind that. So
Yeah.
I
Read
just
about you all the time.
yeah. So I fell out of the church that my parents sent me to. And I guess I just kind of looked around for another thing to follow, and I just recently just kind of just gave up. I don't want to listen to people
Yeah,
just push their beliefs on me.
yeah. We
So-
call that the journey. Most people who did that, many of them have spoken about
Did
that.
they go to, or did they just send you?
They went to, but they all just kind of stopped going.
Okay,
So yeah.
okay. Welcome. Jeff?
My name's Jeff. I live in Puyallup, and I was here maybe 5-6 months ago, for the first time with you guys. I consider myself a humanist. That's a really good term. I think that's a really, you can say, positive term that encompasses that you don't need God to be good as a basis.
Right, right.
Rationalism is also very good. I've been reading a lot of philosophy books lately, which are really good because it's kind of question everything, and then work kind of backwards from there instead of just finding a loop that most people find themselves in a loop, and then when you ask them the question they can't answer, it's always,
Like, how long have you been a humanist or identified?
my parents were born and raised Catholic in the East Coast, like Buffalo area, and
Could I,
and when I was born, before I was born, they moved out of the family area, and we went to different churches, so we were never like a steady one, so I was exposed to a lot of different stuff, which is good, because I look at my cousins and my grandparents are gone, but that I wasn't stuck in that area of the family and didn't have that, pressure of cousins and
Right.
aunts and uncles, so.
Do you think
I think that helps.
experiencing these different religions made you be an atheist?
Yeah, somewhat, because it was never the same message, which I think was one reason
Yeah.
that made me look at the different types and questions like if these things are so set in stone like they say they are, why is there
Why is everybody
dozens
so
and dozens and
different? Yeah.
dozens of different branches of it? And that was a major thing that was.
All right. Well, we'll hear from everybody later if you brought something, but I just want to keep going around the room right now. Bradley?
Well, I'm Bradley. Been going to meetings like this for, I don't know, three or so years. And I've been an atheist since about the timeline. moved away from home. I don't know if there's much to say about my religious. My parents went to church regularly, but he had a kind of a liberal Christian upbringing.
Okay. All right. Gary?
I'm a recovering Catholic. I'm still trying to undo the programming, and it is harder than all get out to do. Currently, what I pay most attention to is, I guess I put it under the in terms of ethics, but it has to do with all kinds of areas about how I live and my relationship with people, and but I was thoroughly indoctrinated. My parents were brand new Catholics at the time, brand new converts at the time I was born. And so I got it thoroughly, 8 years with the nuns and 4 years with the Christian Brothers of Ireland and 6 years with the Jesuits, and intended at that point to be, first of all, intended to be a priest, but by the time I was back in college, I still intended to be a theologian, and that was one of my two majors. So, and it wasn't until I was beyond what we'd call midlife that I suddenly started looking at why was I depressed and what does the brain do that makes it work this way. And that's the first time I really saw anything from a scientific point of view. Everything else I'd had just gone whoosh, right by. It was all, you know how it is, like you're wearing a football helmet and anything that comes by bounces off. I was very well defended by the way I was raised, so, which is why it's still a struggle to deprogram it. But anyway, so it took me that long to start noticing that this stuff didn't make sense. And so ever since then, I've just been working to kind of get my roots out of that enmeshed.
And it's painful.
Oh, very.
Anybody who's still on the journey, there was one man last time who talked a lot about that. It's very painful. Wendy?
I'm Wendy.
She's the founder.
Started
foundress.
this group in my home, and here we are. We all wouldn't fit in my home now. So,
5 years later.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
But I was raised Catholic. I later kind of just wandered around in the 1960s days of the hippie stage, and then I became a fundamentalist Christian through a really wacko group. Damien knows.
Yeah. I lived it.
Yes, and so anyway, when I got involved with that group, some of you, I hate telling the story over and over because I feel like you've all heard it so many times.
Do it.
But I had never read the Bible before, because in Catholicism you didn't read the Bible. Everything was told to you. You didn't search on yourself.
That's so strange.
No, I know. So when I started reading the Bible, of course, right away I'm like, the Bible says this and the Bible says that. And, and I would ask questions of the elder, and they would always kind of defer my questions to something else. And then one time he said to me, "Sister," term they used for the women, you need to go ask your husband these questions. And I'm like, oh, that was, it just, all the cards just came tumbling down. I'm like, don't think so. And from that point on, I was very rebellious against everything that they did. I questioned everything. And so here I am today. And to me, religion is, I used to think that it wasn't harmful, but today, the more I see and the more I know, I feel like it is very harmful, because people group into these little cults, if you will, and it ends up being a free-for-all as far as who's got the right God, who's got the right laws, and the right rules, the right book, and then we see all the war and the destruction that comes from that, and it just makes me so angry that this force that everybody thinks is for good can do so much destruction in the world. And so I'm a firm disbeliever. I'm just a firm disbeliever, and I'm glad I am, because it's helped me to see so much more about what really is going on in the world and what really is important in the world.
And you meet the neatest people.
And you sure do. You sure do.
Thinking people.
And I'm so happy now.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, I'm so
You're a
happy.
thinking person
It's
now.
like,
Wow, what a
you know,
concept.
it's like no matter what happens, I'm still happy because I'm just surrounded by these wonderful people. And that also imparts such, wonderful knowledge and hope, and it does. Seeing you guys gives me hope for the future, for my grandchildren, because I'm like, things got to change, or So, thanks all of you for being here.
Alice.
Hi everyone, I'm Allison. I was raised Mormon, and I started questioning religion. Like, what I can clearly remember is when I was about 10 or 11, I started questioning religion. And what I noticed was that they don't really have any answers for much. So,
You figured this out as an early...
as a child, I figured this out. I remember a question I asked my parents that made them really livid was, I figured, thinking as a little kid, like, so God is the Father, and you're my father, and you have a father, so I asked, who's God's God?
Yep.
Made that, it was downhill from there.
Heretic.
I went on a journey like a lot of people do, where I was spiritual but not religious, and then agnostic, and then became atheist, and here I am today.
And what's interesting about you is what school are you going to, or your major?
Mortuary science.
Mortuary
Yep.
science. He
Yes.
has much to say about that too.
I do, and
Yes, thank you.
I can tell you, there's not been anything weird happening with this body. So, there's no ghosts.
You need to come to the meeting with Jerry's going to have the people talk about ghosts.
Yeah.
You remember that you're going to have that one where the people talk about ghosts?
Oh, yeah.
And I said I won't go unless I get dissent.
Are you talking about the Goldberg dinner or some other meetup?
Secular Seattle.
Secular Seattle.
But he's not ready to present yet.
Oh, he's not.
It may be a while.
Oh,
So he was a ghost hunter.
yeah, ghost hunting, yeah.
We got a ghost hunter.
Coming to your secular,
Yeah,
but he believes in ghosts because he goes and looks for them?
yeah.
Oh my.
And I wasn't going to attack him. I was just
Not
saying
done yet.
I won't listen to him
Journey.
present that without presenting a counter argument that stuff is total nonsense.
Okay, Sean.
Yes. So my name is Sean, and I've been, I'd say, an agnostic since about 16. I'd call myself a hard agnostic. I don't think there's any way to prove or disprove whether or not there was like some sort of deistic creator. It's probably an unanswerable. But I am almost completely, like 99.99% convinced there's no theistic God. Big reason is because over the past 500 million years there have been 5 mass extinctions. And that is not consistent with, some theistic gardener who's looking after a garden.
Theistic gardener looking out for the garden. Boy, that's well put.
Yeah, not at all. And this isn't a case like there's just been one disaster, like flood-like, because he got pissed off. No, this has happened over and over.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, a lot of well-intentioned liberal friends say things like, oh, well, religion, as long as you're not hurting people and it gives you purpose, blah, blah, blah. It is hurting people.
It is.
It's hurting gays, it's hurting women, it hurts the downtrodden, like the caste system in India.
It hurts the climate.
It does.
Yes.
And But a big thing I'm interested in right now is ideological struggle. I'm reading Samuel P. Huntington's Clash of Civilizations. Not that I agree with all of his politics, but I think a lot of liberals and atheists out there really need to adopt, I think Sam Harris called it civil intolerance, where you're going to be civil, you won't be rude, but you're going to be upfront and say, no, I think that these ideologies are not true, and I want to promote my ideology at their cost. I want to see them diminish, my ideology to strengthen. And I think we should be proud about doing that.
Yes.
So, that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. Welcome back, I guess. I don't think I ever met you, but
Yeah, glad to be here.
yeah.
I think we need to listen to each other. We, atheists and humanists and non-atheists. I'm convinced, having heard all of this, that I'm one of the lucky ones that grew up without any religious upbringing. I grew up in the 30s and 40s in little towns in eastern Washington where you went to church because it was the community.
Yeah.
But my parents weren't. But
Jack,
I got involved somehow.
see you. Come down here, there's one right there. Sorry, go ahead.
With Malay. Malay boys, you know. For me, it was just something to tend to be a leader. I had no idea that it was a religious organization.
Yeah.
It was about religious intolerance. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. So let me ask, Bob, we're just introducing ourselves. This is Bob, so you want to say your 2 cents?
I'm Bob, I blog and write, and I've got a debate coming up on Wednesday.
In Bellingham, or else
Yes,
I go.
that's my attitude, I'm in it, otherwise I wouldn't go.
But it's with you and Valerie Tirico, is that correct?
Yes, it's 2-on-2, 2 professors from Seattle University are opponents. Valerie Tirico and I are on the negative side of the question, does God exist?
Oh, God. Are
Western
you going to
Washington.
film it or tape
It
it?
should be on YouTube.
I want to
and,
listen.
I'll put a link on my blog.
Okay, good, thank
But
you.
it's, if anybody is eager for a drive, it's 7:30 Wednesday, Western Washington University at the Performing Arts Center. Thanks.
Bob, what do you call it? You're into apologetics, is that right?
Yeah, apologetics is often seen as the art of arguing in favor of something, Christianity in this case, and I sort of do counter-apologetics. Responses to
Okay.
that, yeah.
All right. Okay. So before we move on, the next thing is, did anybody bring anything? Anybody who brought anything to talk about, or if you want to talk about anything, you get to go first. Books? Nothing. Nothing.
I'll bring something up.
All right, Garrett, you go.
Every week I get an email from On Being, which some of you may be familiar with, Valerie Tippett, interviewing all kinds of deep thinkers, poets and nuclear physicists and philosophers. I also get Brain Pickings, which is Maria Popova, looking through all kinds of things that she's reading and cross-connecting them. It's a fascinating way of looking at stuff. And she sends these out. Usually there are about 6 different topics, 5 or 6 different topics that she's looking at, and sometimes they're related, but she goes through them and cross-connects to half a dozen or more different authors. This week, Krista Tippett is interviewing Maria Popova. So I strongly recommend anybody who's interested in that kind of fertile source material to go to On Being and listen to that. It's a fascinating interview. So I'll leave it at that.
You too. Have a seat. We're still introducing ourselves.
We do that every time.
Yeah, well, just briefly, because we always have new people. We don't have to tell the story of our lives, but, okay, so I'm gonna move away from talking about what we brought, and we're gonna have them introduce themselves. This is Scott. Go with Scott.
Oh, you want me to start?
Yeah,
Hi, I'm
just
Scott.
say, why do you
Next.
come to this, and are you an atheist or some other thing, and
Oh, I'm some other thing.
And why are you so angry?
why was he accused of being?
He's an atheist, he's angry.
Oh, yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, we're all angry. I hate God.
I don't know. Gosh, I just got here. I didn't even have water yet.
Well, you
Yeah.
have lots of scientific
Oh,
background.
I've got scientific stuff going, yeah.
And you're the head of the skeptic.
Well, I'm one of the heads of the skeptics. I co-run it with Case.
With who?
Case. Actually, we
Oh,
got a
Case,
good
yes,
meeting
Case.
coming up on Tuesday. Somebody's gonna come in and talk to us about the pseudoscience and science of Nikola Tesla.
Oh,
That sounds pretty cool. It's gonna be on Tuesday at 7 o'clock.
North
At,
Seattle.
when you're working, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's in, you can go to the Seattle Skeptics meetup group for more details. But we meet at Razzy's restaurant,
In
which is a
Greenwood,
pizza
right?
place in
85th
Greenwood.
and Greenwood.
85th and Greenwood.
Okay. All right.
And I just had a play close, which was really fun. And if you want to watch it, it's not on my blog yet, but it is on my Facebook page. If anybody wants to friend me on Facebook, I'm very friendly.
I can attest to that. He's one of my friends.
Yes.
Okay, I can't remember what your name is. Excuse me.
Hi, I'm Leda.
Layla. Leda. Okay. Can you introduce yourself?
Oh, well,
Just say, why do you attend these kinds of meetings? Are you an atheist, humanist, whatever? And where did you come from religiously?
well, I grew up without any influences, so I consider myself a humanist.
Okay.
And I come mostly for the community. So,
Like-minded people then.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, welcome.
Thanks.
Did I miss anybody? And who is your lovely daughter? What's her name?
This is Claudia.
Claudia. Nice meeting you, sweetheart. Okay, we're done.
I brought my book.
Okay.
You guess what brought something?
All right. So,
It's called Taste Your Emotions.
Okay.
It's basically about 100 poems, but also has some atheistic stuff in it too.
Okay.
And one of the things that I was going to bring up was something that I took 2 classes in college that helped turn me atheist. One of them was the 10 religions of the world. And that really got me seeing how they're all the same. And then the other one was on the Bible itself, and halfway through that I became atheist. But the one that really profoundly touched me, that was so about the 10 world religions, was how they all have the same kind of thinking. And one of the things that they uniquely, I put in my book, was how they all have a golden rule. And if you
Yes.
want, I can read you the different golden rules.
Okay.
So Confucianism, and it says, one world which sums up the basis for all good conduct, kindness and loving. Do not do to others what you do not want done to yourself. And that was Confucius, and that's in verse 15:23. In Hinduism, this is the sum of duty. Do not do to others what you would cause pain or to be done to you. And that's in, I can't pronounce something, but it's 5:15:17.
You don't have to give us the reference.
All right.
Just tell us the religion.
Because I got can't, it's like Mahara, Bawa. Anyway, so Islam, not one of you truly believes until you wish for others what you wish for yourself. Judaism, one should treat all creatures in the world as one would like to be treated. Oh, sorry, that was Jainism, sorry. Judaism, what is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. This is the whole Torah. The rest is just commentary. Native American, we are as much alive as we keep the earth alive. We are one. Sikhism, I am a stranger to no one, and no one is a stranger to me. Indeed, I friend them when I friend myself. Taoism, regard your neighbor gain as your own gain, and your neighbor's loss as your own loss. Unitarianism, we affirm that the promote respect for the interdependence web of all existence which we are a part of. Wicca, and harm none, do as thou wilt. Zoroastrianism, do not do to others what injures yourself. So,
Thank you.
But that's just one thing. But hearing like all the different religions, I was just like,
Yeah.
because I thought, well, Christian's only right, and only my Christian was right. My little
Yeah.
tiny branch of Christian was right, and even Catholic was totally wrong, and this was totally wrong, and Baptist was totally wrong. But then all of a sudden, hearing all these faiths, and I'm like, wow, they all have. It's not no special message that. That only Jesus had, and only Christians.
They told me that it came from Jesus. How else would we know?
Right, but I'm saying, so I didn't know, and that's what I'm saying. Once I heard that, wow, and some of these are actually older than Jesus, and yet they all have the same thinking, I was like, maybe this is not real.
Yeah.
Maybe this is just man-made, and it's just, they're all coming up to the same kind of a simple truth that you should care about people. That's just a human thing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me after what Wendy said about the harm that religions have done to listen to supposedly their
Right. Golden rule.
Their golden rule, and then you imagine them in the wars they've been in, and and the indoctrinations that they do to their children and all of that, and you think, well, what happened to that? I mean, it sounded really good at the time,
Right.
but then what? You don't live by it.
On the subject of the possible harm that religion does, there's also that it interferes, huge numbers of people find a feeling of personal security or safety or I'm going to be okay in religion. One viewpoint is that unfortunately prevents them from learning more of the real world.
That's true. What did I read just the other day that I thought was so interesting? It was something, I think it was an article in the New York Times, but somebody was saying that the fundamentalist Christians don't want, they're proud to say they don't have a flexible mind. Because if you had a flexible mind, that the devil would get in there.
Valerie this week.
Valerie this week, that's it, Valerie Tarico.
Read Valerie Tarico.
Yeah, you need to get on her website or her blog. It's called A Waypoint, all one word. But anyway, so she was talking about how these fundamentalist Christians, they don't want any crack in their armor, or whatever they call their armor. And they call it being, proudly inflexible. Because if you let that in, then the devil gets in. So they actually name it as an entity that none of us believe in. But it also keeps them and their children from finding out anything. Like Rick Santorum famously said a couple of years ago, I assume you all know who he is, he said, well, we got to quit funding education for our children because, they go to college and they learn stuff and they fall away. I mean, and that explains their political philosophy and what they want to pay for, and I mean, it's all connected. Yeah, well, but if you don't want that crack to appear, you don't want that thinking person in your family. So, anyway.
Can I give you a rebuttal?
Oh, sure, Scott.
You know me, I'm always rebutting. That's where I live. There's an article that I just posted, and I'm getting all kinds of shit for it on Seattle Atheists. Okay. And it's from Salon, and it's basically, it's a counter to the so-called new atheists, whatever a new atheist is. I mean,
Those harsh ones like me and Sam Harris.
Militant.
No, not Sam Harris. He's not.
Oh, he's not. Richard
Well,
Dawkins.
sometimes, it depends. Anyhow, they talk about an article that I haven't read yet that is entitled "New Atheism's Fatal Arrogance." And he writes, "I encouraged atheists to think more broadly about the function of religion than do the luminaries of the new atheist movement. Quote, religious convictions in many cases are not held because they're true, but because they're meaningful, because they're personally transformative." Okay? New atheists are often blind to this belief. And then he cites Jerry Coyne, who apparently gave a very lengthy rebuttal to that. But then he quotes Dawkins in particular, who wrote, "I don't give a damn if people find religious belief comfortable or meaningful. I only care whether it's true." And he says, "I too care about the truth, but comments like this are conversation stoppers. The potential to persuade is immediately lost. If Dawkins has any aspirations beyond preaching to the choir, why would he not care what people find meaningful? The new question here is simple. Do the so-called new atheists want to win an argument, or do they want the world less dogmatic? Do they want to preach to the converted, or do they want to reach well-intentioned believers who reject Bronze Age beliefs yet find something valuable in religion nonetheless? For Dawkins, truth is paramount, but he doesn't address the utility of truth or the motivations behind people's pursuit of it. As a scientist, Dawkins thinks that truth in the empirical sense as an account of what is. I have no issue with that, but religion isn't science. It's a mistake to treat it as such. Religions make all sorts of claims about the empirical world, almost all of which are false. Atheists are right to criticize these claims whenever they appear, but denying the truth claims of religion won't suffice, because religion is about much more than truth. It's about meaning, values, tradition, consolation, community, and transcendence. Dawkins flew right past this point in his response. That's unfortunate. And there's more to it. I skipped some. Anyhow, that's right.
What's Sean?
What's your,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Pardon me?
Where'd you get that?
Oh shit, I just closed it. I'll reopen it.
Wasn't it Salon?
It was Salon
But
Magazine.
it was about Richard Dawkins.
Well, and I didn't read the original source that he was referring to,
Yes.
but it was also in Salon Magazine.
It was Atheist Arrogance was in the title, right?
Was
Yeah,
it?
I remember that the author is Innes, and I can't remember how to spell it. I-N-N-E-S. I'll find it again, I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Good.
Well, I'm
Sean.
thinking,
Because I would,
Thank you
I'm
for
sorry.
sharing that.
part of the reason
Well,
I
it's
ask-
interesting, isn't it?
part of the reason I ask is not just to get it into these notes, but because I think it's an extremely important idea for us to pay attention to. I mean, we are free thinkers,
Yes.
Okay, I found it.
and being dogmatic is an issue among free thinkers.
Well, I have a retort
We're not
for
gonna-
that, but I'll.
Okay, Illing is,
Don't communicate.
it's Sean Illing,
Dogmatic.
SEAN-ILLING, and it is in Salon Magazine, if anybody's interested.
Okay, I'm gonna turn to Sean.
And I'm done.
Okay.
well, I'm thinking it's, I mean, I would like to learn more about this author and other things he's written to get more context, but.
Me too.
But after listening to him, he might not be as opposed to us as we might think, or to atheism. It's like, it seems to me that what he might be saying, maybe I want to read more to be sure, but it seems what he might be saying is like, yes, go ahead and criticize religion for being false, but you can't just run a negative campaign. I think maybe that's what he's trying to say.
Yeah,
is that,
What other impressions you guys?
I can agree with that.
What other impressions? Oh,
The one key line in there that's a positive part is, and this might show part of the shift of the dogmatic thinking of the older people, maybe, or older generation, when they say, they admit practically that it's not about this stuff being true, but that it's about these other values. That line right there is a possible tipping point, that they finally are going from total dogmatic thinking to, oh, well, it's not about that. It's about these other things, and it's a crack.
Anybody else
But
have
if
any
it's not
comment?
about that, then couldn't we have a Christianity which is just focused on all that good stuff?
Yes.
I mean, you know, the list of blah, blah, at the end that's got quoted, you know, who's going to disagree with anything that said? If that's what we're going for, okay, let's talk about that. And is that the Christianity 2.0 that you propose? Because that would be interesting.
And this is what when they knock on my door, I used to not answer. Now I go outside and I close my door behind me and I talk to them. And I take those values and I project it on our leaders. Did you vote for George W. Bush? Yes.
Yeah, good for you.
Do you think that person follows those values?
Do they admit no?
Did you vote for George W. Bush the second time? After you clearly knew he does not follow those values.
Yeah.
That's part of my
How do they answer?
conversation.
How do they answer?
Usually they'll stay there, but they don't last much longer.
They can't answer really what they think of him
They're
and his.
projecting, you can't say you do it and then
Yeah,
enable other leaders
Damien.
to do it.
Okay, so my take on it, I'm an absolute radical, and I am in no way an accommodationalist. In fact, I would say I'm an anti-accommodationalist. I don't need to accommodate anything that is not just, that is not ethical, and to me, religion is injustice in itself. It starts from, there is no such thing as a religion. Tell me one that doesn't indoctrinate children. There's not one religion. Now, no matter how peaceful, how nice it is, not one religion, no matter how loving, Jainism, whatever you want to say, it does not indoctrinate children. I see that as an absolute moral evil in itself. It is something that's done to people. It's not done with the lie, to me, is it's presented as something that people believe. You don't believe this. You were taught this, you agreed. Most people think they use the word belief. And in philosophy, a belief is something that you come to, not something that you're imposed on. And then a belief is something that you're willing to challenge. To me, if truth is not willing to be challenged, it is masquerading as a lie that is afraid to be falsified. And it's simply that it does not want to be challenged. To me, it is my duty, as much as it would be to speak out against, a slavery, for me to speak out against religion. If that offends you that I say that slavery is evil, then it's slavery that's wrong, not me.
Okay.
And I do think we should attack the thinking, the behavior, but not the people.
Alan.
How are we going to change all of these unfortunate believers? One of the things that struck me in Mr. Mystery Man's, one of the things that struck me in your presentation was, are we interested in winning an argument? How are we going to create, if that's not the whole point, an argument, how are we going to reach all of these?
And how do you want to reach them? To what end?
That is my mantra. How do we do it?
Yeah, not how, but to what end? I guess why?
To have a humane, equal opportunity world.
It's a political desire then, at the end of the day.
It's agreeing on a political structure, yes.
Okay.
A societal desire?
Pardon?
Societal desire?
I'm sorry.
Societal desire?
A desire for a certain type of society.
Yeah. A kind in which religions are not enforcing unfortunate things on people. You all know what I mean. But how are we going to get there? We're going to have to be able to communicate with these people. We're going to have to somehow be able to listen to each other, like my next door neighbor, who told me the mountain man, who's been in construction all his life, and said, the reason I like to come over and visit with you on your porch is this rock rib conservative, because you listen to me, and sometimes I gain something a little different viewpoint from you.
Yes, and he's willing to listen though. He listens to you. That's an important issue here.
Oh,
a lot of these people
but I
don't.
have to listen to him too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess, okay, I'm going to put my 2 cents.
Hey, let's finally. What else are we going to do?
Really pisses me off. This whole argument that says, first of all, you're setting up false equivalencies all over the place. That our logical mind is just like their emotional idea. And the thing is, a long time ago, they used to be like the people you grew up with, where church was just a community, and it wasn't a lot of doctrine, and if you were a Catholic or a Presbyterian or whatever else, you pretty much felt the same way about things. Many of you were active in your communities, very generous to the poor, and all of that. You shared a lot of stuff. Nowadays, with the new religions coming in, they're so doctrinaire that it's like it's life or death with them. And they intentionally took over the politics. So it's one thing to say, like in what you were reading, well, it's okay because these people they feel it inside themselves. Well, whoopee dang. I mean, really, good for them that they feel it inside of themselves, but why don't they keep it there? And show me by your behavior what this religion did to you. Don't show me by the anti-abortion laws that you passed. Don't show me about, you know, all the things that politically you're trying to have happen in our country that we all share with you. So that's when I have read to me, or read something like that. That's the first thing I think of is, it always seems like we're supposed to get along with them. But they have no intention of getting along with us because the stakes are too high anymore. We're not even talking about the same values because they say, well, we have the value party. We have values. And
Their
I remember,
theology does not allow them to compromise.
exactly, and how do you even pass laws or live in the same community with all these people if you're not willing to sit down? I mean, one guy next door to you, good for him.
And we're assuming all the rest are like that?
Well,
Not a good
I
idea.
think you're painting a broad brush.
I know these people. It's a very broad
I
brush.
know a lot of people.
But you know what I'm saying, not even all Christians are the same. I wouldn't say
That's
that
what
about
I'm
my
hearing.
friend Kathy. She's an Episcopalian, her husband, they're very active in their church, and I would never be saying this about them, because they show by their behavior what their religion has done for them. I have no problem with those people. The old-fashioned ones, where we all used to go as a community and go to our churches and come out and do community events together, but it's this new group, which has now taken over one of the parties in this United States, that I really, really object to.
That's about how old your old fashioned is. I mean, they used to burn heretics. I don't want to go back that far.
I didn't know that, okay.
Well,
Remember
we do that
last-
anymore.
Maybe last month when I
They
talked
still would
about
if they
this
could.
book called, just a minute, The Christian Nation, and it's all about the fantasy about what if Sarah Palin became, you know.
Oh, that's a fantasy.
Okay, it's a fabulous, fabulous book.
Yes, it
The
is.
Christian Nation. Because it goes through all the things that we're seeing on the news and all the things that are in all the newspapers and all the blogs and everything else. All the things that have been said and done, and I felt like they took over because, well, it didn't hurt me. You know that during the Holocaust or after the Holocaust they said, well, I didn't say anything because I wasn't a Jew. Well, I didn't say anything because I wasn't a homosexual. And when they took the homosexuals away. And I wasn't Polish when they took the Poles away. And so suddenly you're faced with, and now they come for you. And
They're just gonna let you speak up.
nobody's left to speak up. And that's how propaganda and indoctrination happens. And that's what I feel when I read this book, The Christian Nation, because they're out for a lot more than you think.
I'm gonna follow that.
Wendy?
They're calling the atheist community militants, the new atheist militants.
Can you hear her down there?
They are militants. The new Christians
Yes, the new.
are militants.
Yes.
They are mad. They are upset because people are falling away from their church, and they see it. They're what is the millennials.
Millennials?
Millennials, the younger people.
They are leaving religion.
Early millennials.
Please stand up and be
Yes.
counted.
And
Almost Gen X.
yeah, and my kids are free thinkers. They're raising their children to be free thinkers. So it's like it's going to, and that's really frightening the religious people that have control of the churches, because they are losing members. Because how do you get members? It's like you marry somebody and you baptize the kids and then you teach the kids, and it goes on and on and on for generations. That's not happening in the churches anymore. And they're afraid, and they get just as militant.
Well, they're grasping at
With
straws
us. Yes.
lately with
Yes.
all the anti-gay stuff.
Yes.
And all, they're losing and they know it.
Yes.
And they're getting more
More
intense. Like, religion is going, I honestly think it will be gone one day. And I think that.
Oh, God, I wish.
I wish it was in my lifetime. I don't know.
I don't think it would be in mine.
But they're losing
Yeah.
the battle, and I think they know it.
Right.
At least in a political sense.
So when a congregation loses people, what else do they lose?
Money.
Money.
So what it should be the united for the separation of church, state, and big money.
Yeah.
Because whether it's government or religion, that's what they're ultimately trying to control.
Well, in the religious right, or in politics, like the conservatism is slowly becoming,
Yeah.
what do you call it?
Passe.
Huh?
Passe.
No, when a religion is what controls the government.
Yeah.
Theocracy masquerading as.
Absolutely.
Right, that's the real goal.
Right. You know what
That's
that
what it
is.
is. Yeah.
Anybody else have a comment about this? Sean?
Well,
Oh,
Another
sorry.
thing is-
Raise your hand and maybe I can see you next. You'll be next.
Well, just a statistic I wanted to put out there. The Pew, I think it was about 4 years ago, Pew did a research on religiosity here in America. And among people born before 1928, I think it was around 79% of them said that they were absolutely certain God existed, or had never had any doubts. And among people born since it was 1980 or 1983, only half of them were absolutely certain God existed. So, and granted, a lot of those people call themselves spiritual,
Yeah.
not religious, but still, that's huge. It's
It
a
is.
very big change.
And
So,
it's growing.
yeah, target my generation. Oh, I am 31.
Okay.
Yes.
So what are the millennials to the I don't understand what that means. How old are you when you're a millennial?
I'm the oldest. I'm 34.
34. And that, okay, so it didn't start when you were born, when the millennial.
No,
millennial
coming of age around
Coming of
millennium.
age. Oh,
Around the
okay,
turn
so
of the
mid
millennium.
30s or earlier. Okay, and then Gen X is what?
Gen
40?
X, like 35 and older. It's kind of
Until
arbitrary.
you get to our age and then we're boomers. Is there anything between Gen X and boomers?
Early Gen
Me
X, late
generation.
boomers?
Okay, I won't go there. So anybody else have anything? Okay, Gary and then Bob.
We've gone a lot of different places with this, and I think it's worth recognizing the core of that particular article, in which he says, people like Harris and the late Christopher Hitchens make a powerful case for more humanistic ethics. He says the new atheists have an important role to play. Reason needs its champion too. And religion has to be resisted because there are genuine societal costs. One can draw a straight line between religious dogma and scientific obscurantism. And he goes on to some others. That's a real problem.
So
But
this is the same author that
this is
Scott wrote?
this is the same one. But I just wanted to focus on the focus of his article.
Okay.
He says, that's a real problem. But if religion is ineradicable, looking at the strength that keeps people glued to it, if it is ineradicable, and we don't know, it might be, we might hope, we have to find a way to limit its destructive consequences.
Absolutely.
Satire and criticism are necessary, but they're not sufficient, and that's his focus. It's not that there's anything wrong with doing what the ones that they call the extreme atheists are doing. They're doing a very important thing.
Yes.
And we have to acknowledge the validity of what they're doing, but he's just trying to warn us that isn't enough. We have got to be able to engage people more directly in identifying what are the real values, that whether they get them out of their religion or wherever, what are they? And let's pay attention to them. And then, as you're saying, are we living those or not?
I feel the ball is in their court though.
Well,
I'm tired of reaching out.
But if we don't, nobody will. They will just keep that armor down.
They
up.
think you're a devil.
That's fine. They will keep that armor up unless we find ways to get inside of it. And that, first of all, means engage.
Well, get there in their book club like
Engage.
Bob.
If you don't engage, you'll never reach.
Separation of church and state, I don't care what they believe.
Exactly. Again, it has to do with what laws are you going to pass that I have to live under. That's what it's all about. Wait a minute. You want to share?
No,
Louder?
I was asking another question, sorry.
Okay. Bob,
Broke my arm.
you're up.
Just a quick comment in response to what Scott was quoting. It seemed the real issue, it seems to be that the Dawkins is talking about one thing and this person's talking about another. Each one has, some valid points. I would ask the author of this article, if there is a false statement in a religion, then you shouldn't believe it. I mean, you could talk about the benefits of religion. Yeah, okay, fine, we could talk about that.
Personal benefit.
I think he would disagree and say no.
I think
He would say, that surprises me. He would say, here's a belief which is false, and he would see someone with that belief and he'd say, not a problem, if it works for you, knock yourself out.
Not from what I just quoted.
Yeah, he was reading the same.
He doesn't take that position.
Okay, because that would be my response, that, we can talk, benefits of community, I love that stuff, great, we can find all kinds of common ground. But if a belief is false, we should not believe it, just period. Do we all agree with that?
But we're not supposed to believe it. Are you saying if a belief is not true, they can't believe it?
That's the problem.
Any person who says, oh, I'll believe that, is wrong.
Yes.
Am I mistaken? I think that's
I don't think you're mistaken, but I do think that when I'm in the presence of any given individual, what's my agenda? If it is to, as it will be on Wednesday when you and Valerie face off against these two Jesuits, it is to make a logical argument and convey your best argument to support the truth. That's great. If that's my agenda, that's one thing to do. If my agenda is to reach inside and touch that person and try to engage them, it's a different agenda, and I might not put arguing the case at the top of my agenda in that case. I might have other activities that I'll engage in and hope that by going through this way, I can reach there. Now, if they're in the...
You're hypothetically trying to engage with Christians, is your point.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
And I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Alan. To what end?
To the end of bringing out the rational, the real, the heartfelt, and all the good things. Because you see, I don't believe in this fallen, original sin state that people are horrible until you fix them. I think they have a way to engage with real healthy values. I think they have intelligence. I think they have all these things, but they've got them armored, or they've got them reprogrammed, or they've got to what end it is to get inside the armor
and do what
and call out these powers that are within them. Call out the powers that are within them. To start questioning. In the same way I looked at things and started questioning. That's the end.
Okay, so you want to deconvert them? Or do you want to change society?
I want...
What is it that you want from
if
doing this?
If I'm engaged with a particular individual, I want that individual to become as healthy and happy as possible.
So it's one at a time, and...
In those cases, yes. That's the kind of target I think he's envisioning here. And in those cases, I think that's the most likely way to reach someone.
Wendy.
I feel like if you can get people who are involved in other religions, when you talk to them, to question without attacking them, that does a lot. And it may take a while. It's like they're not going to turn and all of a sudden go, I see what you're saying. It's going to take them time to process that. It's injecting the reason into them and having them use their own brains to question things that they have believed.
And what is your end result? What is your end goal? One at a time, one person at a time.
Yeah, it's one for me. That's how I don't talk to large groups of people. So it's unless they're other free thinkers, but it's one-on-one. It's just a lot of people know that I'm an atheist. A lot of my family knows. Even my sister, my brother. It's like I can see their wheels turning when we talk because I'm not attacking them. I am just asking the questions. I am just, stating the facts as I know them, and then they'll come back and they'll ask me more questions. And so it's a process, just like it was a process for me. I didn't just one day decide I was an atheist. I didn't even know I was on that track when I left.
But what they were reading from this Illis, is that Illing?
Right.
Illing. It sounded like it's a lot larger than just one-on-one. That's how I took it to be.
Well, as a new atheist.
And I can tell you
like
what my
Dawkins.
agenda would be.
Yeah, right,
My agenda would be, and so why the hell do you vote the way you do?
right.
Why the hell do you vote to get rid of food stamps? Why the hell do you
Well, I
do
would-
this?
but I
In
would
other
do
words,
that.
I would go to that value place that they say they have because of their religion, and I'd be asking, why
Where it's
then?
consistent with your
Why,
Christian
why,
values.
why?
And I
Why,
do that.
why?
I do that
I want to
with my
see the
little kids, yeah.
behavior. I
Right.
keep saying this,
Yeah.
I want to see the behavior that follows this insider religious experience that you're having. Go ahead and have it.
Right,
But
but some
don't
of
be
them may say
inconsistent.
that the reason why they don't want government to do it is because they want the church to do it.
Yes, and well, show
But
me
to me-
evidence that that would
That
be
the
effective.
church would be a good.
Show me evidence.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a good way. I'm just saying that,
That's
that to me,
exactly
That goes along
I don't
with
see
people.
why we put
it does.
religion as special. It's
Exactly.
no different to me than a sports team
I agree.
or a political thing. We
Right.
have no respect for political. Just people here have already dissed a political party like it was no fucking big deal. I didn't hear anybody feeling that we needed to respect a political thing. It's an idea.
So
It doesn't have any dignity to
husband would
violate.
very much
It doesn't
agree
have
with that.
any right to exist.
Why do they have such?
It has nothing. It is an idea. Ideas do not have
Exactly.
substance, do not have beingness. They have no feelings to hurt. They have no rights.
Right.
Only humans have rights. Only humans have rights. Ideas do not have rights. To me, the problem is, to me, that when we approach every other idea, we use total reason and we just attack the idea.
Exactly.
If we say we're fighting for women's right to vote, we don't just go, well, we don't want to hurt the men's feelings.
Yeah.
We just say, this is it. You need to accept this. This is the truth. This it needs to happen. Not, please, could you give women rights? Please, can we get? If it's not too inconvenient for you, if it doesn't hurt your structure,
Yeah.
is it okay? We go
We can still
now.
allow you to have that,
So to me, it's
feeling about your
same with gay
religion.
rights. It's not like, could you please, if it works for you, I mean, doesn't affect you too much, fuck you.
Rachel Maddow
This needs to happen
famously
because
said,
you're
"You don't
infringing
vote on
someone
rights."
else's life.
But at the same time, I mean, there are clumsy ways and clever ways to approach that. If you are doing it and just pissing the person off, then.
But tell me one political movement that's not happened with someone going out there in the streets and screaming and holding signs.
Absolutely, but at the
So I
same
mean,
time, you have bad cops.
silence. I know, but silence does nothing. It never has.
True, but you have
Never.
you have the good cop approach in addition to the bad cop. I mean, let people who are pissed speak up. I agree with you, but.
I mean, so just like even our right to have workers' rights. People got shot, got killed. I mean, we act like, I'm not saying that they're the same, but we act like somehow we can approach religion with no blood on our hands or no offending nobody. It's ridiculous to me. I'm saying for me. I'm not saying everyone else has to have my own idea. I don't think there's one atheism. I don't think there's one right way to do anything. But I'm just saying, I feel
Feelings will get hurt.
I feel it's wrong how somehow we put this on a pedestal. Somehow this idea is different than how we approach every other idea. And to me, that right there is not rational.
Okay, I'm gonna move to Sean.
Yeah, well, I've just recently started reading Peter Boghossian's A Manual for Creating Atheists.
Oh,
And the one thing that I think is kind of lacking in the movement is, and I think it's something that we would get incredible return on, would be if somebody could find a study or conduct a series of studies that looks at in terms of percentage of deconversion or conversion, whatever you want to call it, which approaches are most effective at turning people from believers into non-believers. Just like an objective scientific peer-reviewed study, that could help us create essentially a marketing plan.
But see, I don't see that, well, that's why I keep asking, to what end? Because each one of us, some are saying the same thing, but I'm more with Alan. I'm more about the government, he's about society, but I believe that one will flow to the other. But some of you have said that you really wanted to deconvert them. You didn't say those words, but you wanted them to be free thinkers like you. You want to bring them to the promised land. Yes, Jeff.
So the book I just finished reading is called Universally Preferable Behavior by Stephen Molyneux, I think it is. And his
Thank you.
website is Free Domain Radio. And he's a libertarian
hey.
philosopher.
Excuse me.
He has a
It
ton
was a
of
Sprite.
YouTube videos.
I'm sorry.
In the basis of what he calls UPB, Universally Preferable Behavior, is putting things to the ethics
Yes, okay.
tests of ethics.
Okay, yes.
And it really breaks it down
I'm sorry.
in two main things. He uses like murder and rape
Prefer.
as examples and theft.
I can't
But
write.
then he also uses, he puts government and religion through these tests
Oh, I like
of
that.
ethics.
Cool.
And it basically, and he talks about like army and murder
Behavior.
for war. So if it's wrong for you to kill somebody, but you put on a uniform in the name of whatever,
Interesting.
why is it ethical? How, and those are the tests, so, and he says it fails.
Is this a book?
Yes.
And who's the author?
Stephen Molyneux.
Stephen
French type name.
M-O-L-I-N-E-U-X. Molyneux. What is it?
Molyneux. He's a
He has a lot of YouTube videos.
NIEUX. Yeah, he's got a lot of YouTube videos.
M-U-L-N-I-E-U-X.
So the tests, and those are great, that's one of the best examples I think they ever
That sounds
read.
good.
And then putting religion and God to the test, and it's the same thing.
Fascinating.
Why is it okay, not okay for you to attack somebody because they're different, whatever, religion or color, but it's okay for you to attack it because you're a member of
An elite group.
and it fails the
Thank you.
ethics.
Right.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Alan?
I am a big fan of both reality and I understand that it's political. Power corrupts. So we got to deal with it all. And the question is, how are we going to win this? That is win people's minds.
I think you have to me, and this is my 2 cents, because I'm very involved politically, Democrat of course, but,
Separation of church and state.
well, yeah, but that's the fact, but what's the how? I mean, this is the what, and the how is, in my mind, if you can reveal to people who probably do have something, like you were saying, you're talking to people at the door, and then you said, but did you vote for him? Did you know he did this and that, and they were just kind of speechless because they're told to vote for these people because these people have their values, and they're patriotic and all this stuff. And I believe that if you can talk to these people who you're talking about here and get under this, the camel's nose under the tent, I believe you have to begin to talk about the reality of what these people have done to your class, to my class, to the state of the United States in general. Because otherwise they think that these people are by definition their guys. For no other reason except that, maybe they're, the preaching in the pulpit about we have values and these other people don't, so don't vote for them. Even though everything they pass is, you just have to keep saying, why would anybody vote against their own interests?
You have to make those
You have to
connections.
make those specific, again, I get back to behavior. You can talk all you want about philosophy and thoughts and all this, but when you begin to talk to people about the behavior, and what does it mean to you because you have to live in the same country, then I think it's like, then maybe the light will come on. You may not deconvert them, but as I said, all of us have a different agenda when asked that question. Mine is political. I don't want to live in this world that they're creating for me. That's mine. I don't want to deconvert anybody. I really don't care. Anybody else?
Have to. I don't think
Well,
we're going to
yeah,
have to.
I'd like to.
Scott?
Well, I just kind of, I hear often in these groups, and this one I've heard a lot here about the value of rationality. And I think there's a lot of value to irrationality. Now, that begs for explanation.
Definition.
If you, well, if you really behaved rationally all the time, you may not get a lot done. I mean, you have to step out on the precipice of insanity once in a while. I mean, you can see metaphors for it in literature all the time, with people like Hamlet, Captain Ahab, things like that. I mean, if everyone behaved in a logical, rational way, I really wonder how many artists we have. I really wonder how many entrepreneurs that we would have. I wonder how many soldiers we have.
But how many people in talking about that in this group meant, that's why I say definition. What is the definition that all of you who use the word rationalist meant? Did you only mean in terms of what's real, not going out on a ledge and doing something new? That's risky, but it may not be irrational. But I believe that, and you guys, pipe up, but I believe that what we're really talking about as far as being rational is believing that the world is, in a scientific, physical sense, we agree on what that is.
But we don't all agree on what that is, right?
No.
I mean, what I'm afraid of is that, and I'm not accusing anyone of this, okay, but that we clip our wings and say, the old idea, man, we're meant to fly and give wings, which I hate to march on a cliche like that, but I'm afraid that we do that to ourselves.
By doing what?
By maintaining this adamant need for rationality, okay, by getting real, okay, by believing the statistics, okay, and I fear that. I fear that.
What would it look
See,
like?
but I am a rationalist. I'm also an artist and a poet, and I do stuff creative all the time. I think that the problem is that you're presenting an argument to me that says that one thing is either rational or it is irrational. And I would say that a rationalist, a true rationalist, I'm a rationalist, understands we're emotional beings. Every bit of rationality has to be filtered through our emotional mind. There is no such thing as pure reason, no such thing as pure rationalism. Everything is an emotional experience. We're emotionally experiencing beings. So to me, it's not, a rationalist would understand that is who we are. The thing is actually having emotional intelligence. And that is the difference between being an unethical being and an ethical being. And so as a rationalist, I think that it's not about us not having creativity. In fact, it's about allowing it to flourish.
I didn't use creativity. I didn't use
No, I'm just saying that you did. You said artists. You said, how will we do artists? How will we do people that are to come up with new ideas? I do all those things. And I'm certainly a very passionate person. So my rationality is not affecting my ability to be an emotional person. So, but I'm just saying, I understand what you're saying, but it's not rational and then irrational. A rationalist understands that things matter. That truth matters.
I think there's a certain amount of value in dreaming the impossible dream.
But dreaming is not irrationality. Dreaming is just having
Einstein.
Impossible dream. But you know what that's called sometimes? But sometimes that's not irrational. To come up with fantasy, if it's for the purpose of fantasy, is not irrational. It's for enjoyment, because guess what? Part of us as an emotional being is that we like joy, that we like to have pleasure. So pleasure is not an irrational experience. But having pleasure at the cost of your family, that is irrational to me. Okay. Having pleasure at the thing of someone else's, dignity, that is it goes back to me to being ethical and unethical. But
maintaining a contradiction.
I am?
Oh, no. I mean, that's another example of irrationality.
Yeah.
One thing that most of us have probably heard of is the study where they studied patients who had no emotional thing in their brain or was turned off or whatever. And you think they would be like Mr. Spock, and they'd be very, very logical, and they would make great decisions. Turns out they couldn't make any decisions at all. Because it turns out that the emotional center is when you have, should I use the red pen or the green pen? Well, who the hell cares? And the emotional thing would say, who the hell cares? Just pick up one, it doesn't much matter. Whereas the logical thing says, well, there's reasons for this, there's reasons for that, and I could argue both sides of it, and you just dither back and forth. So I'm not sure if that supports Scott's point or not, but the emotional side is terrific. It helps us make decisions. I suspect that any disagreement we have where Scott's coming from is a problem with definitions.
Yes.
Right, exactly. To me,
Yes,
I think
yeah.
when you say rational is in this exact, we're talking about these things, again, like the George Bush or the leaders thing, how can you rationally talk about community and your brother and this and that, but then you totally support that person? That's totally irrational.
Because of what he did.
So
Behavior.
that's where I say that I would consider myself a rationalist if I define it, because I'm not like that. I don't support something that I totally disagree with. It's just illogical on top of being irrational, on top of being insane a lot of times.
Yes. And I'm tired of everybody else that, these people, telling me that their values are the only values. So I made a list one time. I don't know if anyone else have ever thought of this, but I made a list one time of what my values were. And I can't remember all of them, but, you know, it would be treating everybody with respect and funding our soldiers when they come back. I don't think that, to me, a value is that you make sure that you take care of your warriors when they come back and you don't cut the funding. And so it always gets back in my mind to what is the behavior that these laws that they're passing or these budgets that they're passing, what are they doing to my values? I have values too, but I'm not heard, because it's kind of like you can't prove a negative or something. But to me, every single thing that they do does not agree with my values. And I wish some way that we could say, these are our values. It isn't that I'm against you because you believe in Jesus. It's because of the behavior that comes out of that and the elected officials that come out of that and your total unwillingness to see that it doesn't even go along with the Bible that you think you worship. Actually, it's what it's Valerie called. Bibliolatry. Bibliolatry, yeah.
Idolatry.
People love the Bible.
So do you think that
As
all
an
arguments could be solved given enough rational application of rational thinking?
All arguments.
Well, let me give
these
you a
people
more
you
concrete
mean?
example.
Okay, please.
Okay.
You mean could we all agree that I would answer no? Any rationalist would realize that everybody has a different stake in the game. In fact, axiology says that every value structure starts with the person themselves and then radiates. In other words, you care and you should care more about your family than my family. You should care more about my family than ones in India.
That's a
So,
little tangential, but let me give you the example.
Go ahead.
For example, I happen to be pro-choice.
Uh-huh.
I assume you probably are too.
Yes, I do.
But I don't know if you can solve that argument using rational principles.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it was their daughter, you know what I mean? That's the kind of argument you have to
If it
have.
was their daughter, then their daughter should have the baby according to some.
Yeah, but they don't, because it's inconsistent.
Oh, no, they do. They do.
Some do,
Many of
Yes,
them do.
and I believe that they should live with that decision. But,
All I'm saying is I'm using that as an example
yes,
of,
I didn't say we could win every argument with this, but I'm just saying it's about time that we get to talk about it in terms of, we have values too.
You have to get them to admit that they know somebody that did it.
Exactly.
They did it.
Right, they did.
They have family members that did it.
And it shouldn't
But
be
they say
shameful, and it
this,
shouldn't be
they say this,
shameful.
but they did it.
I think you're making a sweeping statement here. I think that some of them probably, like Nancy Reagan didn't believe in stem cell research until her husband got Alzheimer's.
Exactly.
Suddenly she saw the light. And but there are many of them who do put their money where their mouth is.
Right, and good for them. And are they going to support that
Oh, and they do.
20-week child? Are they going to pay taxes to pay for everyone else's 20-week child that needs millions of dollars?
Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying, it's an emotional discussion.
Yes.
And it can't, you can say the same thing about the death penalty.
Yes.
You can say, there's a lot of issues that I don't think we can solve using rational discussion. Because everybody
I
knows
agree.
all of the facts.
Because that would, again, what I said earlier, there's a false equivalency going here. That they think just like we do, and we think just like they do, and, you know,
I don't think
everybody's
anybody
different.
thinks like they do.
I
You
think
cannot
I-
disagree. You
I
don't
think,
have to.
Just a minute.
Allison
Scott.
has a point to make.
Allison.
I want to throw a wrench in the conversation for a second because I'm excited about something.
Oh, right.
And my brother just texted me after I got here. And so, okay, a little background to my excitement for this.
Okay.
He is at a point where I would call him spiritual but not religious. And he started questioning the Mormon religion a few years ago.
Okay.
And then he started saying that he would talk to me about it because I'm the only member of the family who can talk to about it.
Yes.
And then he started expressing some curiosity about like the Buddhist temple that is down the street from where
Yeah.
he lives. And I was like, well, why don't you go there and check it out? And I encouraged him to go check out any other church that
Right.
he's curious about, so
Right.
he did. And he has sent a letter into the Mormon church renouncing the Mormon church.
oh, right.
That's progress on its
I'm
journey.
really excited.
Yeah.
Came from
You have a
within.
copy of it?
Yeah, he sent me a picture.
That's great.
Wow.
But this is
And-
important because it came from within.
It's,
Yes.
it says, their response to him is, in view of the eternal consequences of such an action, the brethren urge you to reconsider your request and prayerfully consider, prayerfully, thank you, consider, it's hard to read, consider enclosed statements of the first presidency. So they're
Which part of I'm no longer Mormon do you not understand?
Exactly.
they're
Threatening you.
they're threatening his
Oh, yeah.
eternal life
Oh, yeah.
with this decision of his.
He may need
Well,
all the
that's,
support he
that's
can
the
get.
implied threat in all religions,
You got a
really
Christian
is, you know.
I do want to. He's going to come for my graduation.
Oh, wait, so
And
he
I-
doesn't live here.
No, he lives in Utah. So,
Well, we would just
it's
love
a
to blow
really
his
strong,
mind.
bold move for him.
It
to
is.
Utah.
Wow.
We can congratulate him from all of us.
That is great, but what strikes me as particularly valuable in her brother's situation is that it's not coming from outside. It's not coming from us or any movement. It's coming from within, and those are the only ones that I think are really measurable or that count.
Well, that's the way Wendy was talking about, is that her people that are on the journey will talk to her and her family, but they won't talk to anyone else in the family because they know that they wouldn't be accepted as being okay, being on a journey. You know,
Which is-
that's
is
what I
tough.
always call
You
it.
should invite him to this lunch. See what he
It's
has
tough
to
to
say.
I
do.
would like to
person.
bring him to one of these meetups for sure. But one thing that I was really careful about was not criticizing that he still believes in God.
Yes, right,
Because he still believes in God.
yes.
But I'm just encourage him to check out anything that he's curious about.
Yeah.
You know, any avenue. I just tell him, you know, if anything, you'll just learn more.
Well, he should be
So-
here to go around the table and have people say, well, I did this, but then I became a Buddhist, and then I became a this, and then I was, you know, and suddenly it's like, now I just don't believe. And a lot of the churches I tried out, I was on a journey, so that would be good information for him. Bob,
Yep, but
you don't forget what you said, or it was,
I'm just going to say that someone like Wendy or Allison who are out in front, it's a challenge because the pioneers get the arrows.
yes,
So for the person who comes later, to have them to talk to, that's nice.
yes.
It's kind of a bitch for the first person.
That's
In
true.
the family,
That's
community,
true.
or whatever.
That's
just to
true.
lead.
That's what Allison was, and that's what Wendy was. Well,
Well, I think that'd be an excellent illustration of the need for us to be able to behave in the way that Illing speaks of. Being open, not pushing for the next step. Now you got to get logical about this. And I mean, just being open and hearing, probing if we want, but respectful all the way. And
I think
it's
that's what
that
we do in this
respectfulness.
I don't think we say, why aren't you there yet? I've never heard anyone sort of hurry somebody up. I always talk about it as a journey. you know? Some people's journey is shorter than others. I mean, I married one and became one. Wasn't hard for me at all. I don't have any of these really boo-hoo Catholic stories. I mean, I have a few of them, but it was not the indoctrination that a lot of you talk about very painfully. So.
But I just think it's
yes.
a good practical, immediate illustration of Illing's point, to see your brother on this
Do you
journey
have a blog
and
that
see
you
how
post
it
this
came
on?
about.
That he could maybe see?
Who's the
Her brothers.
Oh, her brother?
For him to
Oh, I
figure out
have
what's
Facebook.
coming.
I have several pages on Facebook. I have
But like this
10,000 people.
particular.
Oh, you mean my YouTube?
It's a
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, he has a friend
Damien,
that he knows he does, so.
Yeah, I have like
that
16
means
videos
a
from
lot.
this, and I have.
Can I give her that
Yeah,
information?
and I have 30 interviews from other atheists.
He's married and he's got a
Is everybody finished with their lunch and ready to pay the man, or do you want anything else?
You know, we had a recovering Jehovah's Witness speak to us at the skeptics meeting.
My email is in there.
I asked him what
really big.
made
One
him,
conversation, please.
I'm sorry.
No, they were having a side conversation. Not usually.
Oh, all right. We had somebody speak at the skeptics group about, and he was a recovering Jehovah's Witness. And he had this like endogenous feeling that it was wrong ever since he was very young. But he kept his mouth shut for many years. And he grew up and broke away. And I asked him what made him different. You know, if he had any thoughts. And he had no clue, really. He just felt like he thought about it more clearly. And you know, and I realized he was trying to escape from sounding arrogant about it. Okay.
Like he figured it out and no one else could.
Yeah, like neener, I'm smart, and he didn't. What I'm saying is he was trying to avoid giving that impression. And I don't know what to make of it either, because I've asked several people who have converted from their religion to what I consider a little closer to reality, and why, you know, why they were special, and none of them know. It's sort of like when they asked Stephen King when he got together with a bunch of authors. They're always asked, where do they get their ideas for stories? None of them know.
Yeah.
They just sort of appear in their heads.
And
I just think it's interesting.
I missed the first part. Who are these people, these special people, or
I
what?
have an email in the back.
Define
You
the specialness
can email
of them.
me and I can
missed
send
that
you
part.
Oh, I'm sorry. It
YouTube.
was somebody who was.
I have
who was
16 videos.
Giving a talk.
30 something interviews of
from
atheists.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh.
And I asked him why he did it.
Yeah,
As
okay.
opposed to
Oh, I
everyone
see.
around him. You know,
I see.
I have asked the same thing with breakaway Mormons
I see.
and Baptists and whatever. And
You don't have an explanation.
almost universally they say, I don't know why.
Right, and I would question the terms like convert, because if I put it myself, I'd say we're all naturally open-minded. So they're not converting.
So information's getting in there,
They're
even
not
though
converting.
they're
They're not converting from one thing
they're
to
not
another.
attributing it to their
They're just
mind.
realizing that they
Yeah,
are
yeah.
naturally what they are, what we all are. That they're just propagating as overridden. I just the term.
Yes, there is.
You're trying to figure out
That's my
how to
book.
be arrogant about it too.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, like in the beginning.
I know when the beginning, 100,000 years ago.
Are we done?
Archaeologically, we can have a pretty good
I
idea.
won't be here to do this anymore.
Mother hens.
No, I won't do it anymore then.
Henny Penny.
Penny, this guy is funny.
Well, the first,
Yeah, that's how I feel.
I am being afraid.
no, well, the first behavior is burial 100,000 years ago in South Africa and in Haifa, Israel, and in Achlach, or whatever it is, Israel, I don't know how to pronounce it. But the intentional burial of the dead. Then at 70,000 years ago, there was intentional worship of a stone serpent in South Africa. And then at 50,000 years, there's more burials. And then at
I don't think I was being very clear on what my thought process was.
But I've actually shared that.
So how did you?
I wonder if it was like the crack of lightning in the sky, or if it was maybe a mother hungry child, or, you know, telling
I mean,
them a
the very
story.
earliest superstition.
Yeah.
Penny
And yeah, and you're probably not gonna see many artifacts
Yeah,
that would give you
that's
an
what I
idea
love
of
about
that
this.
actually.
We'll get into the most interesting conversation,
I'm actually
you know.
thinking, how
And
far
we kind
back
of all
do we
know,
go?
you know, who we are and what we're
Read my book. I
rant
guarantee.
about.
My chapter 2 has
But it's still
450
interesting
references
in this group what a
in
vast
just one chapter. I've completely archaeologically, that's what I did for the last 3 years, is prove exactly what you're asking. And there is actual artifacts that express actual ideas. A lot of it was life and death. The biggest things that were is life and death. And even the stone snake has to do with birth and death. They thought the umbilical cord was a snake. They thought the snake gives life. The snake also bites and kills you. The snake was life and death. And they also had thought that rays on the water was the snake, which was life and death. And going under the water was actually the other world. And same with caves. The caves were a womb, or a cave as a tunnel was a snake. You could actually enter life. It's all mystical understanding of just natural things, but the biggest impact is life and death spawned the stuff. And then women started being worshipped because women were the givers of to them life. 13,000 years ago is the origination of organized religion. But that was also about the same time as agriculture. Once agriculture and they started to domesticate animals, they stopped respecting women. Because once they could control what the birth, they started going, hey, she is not that special. And it's the first time you see at 12,000 years the first sexualization of women. It goes from the society that's all equal or relatively equal to start being that, wow, there's something different about her. And then not until 7,500 years ago you have a real gender difference where there's actual conceit in the graves, how they're buried, how the respect is not this equal. 5,000 years, gods really take prominence. I mean, I know all the stuff. I show all the lineages, all the places. I mean, there's a lot of actual facts. So, I mean, to me, a lot of people guess, like, oh, how did this and that? There's a lot of facts. Trust me.
Here's a great argument. So I posted
I think
this.
I've read some of the same books.
I posted the article from Salon on the Seattle Atheist group. Somebody responded with this: Salon is shit. Posting Salon is shitty. They hate atheists. They are moderate liberal idiots. I think he's got it figured out. Some dude, I don't know. Somebody on Facebook. I know his name.
The articles published in Salon
You can look it
absolutely low journalistic quality.
I love that
For
summary.
example, did you read the one? It was what's his name?
And just today we got a
He
new
wrote an article on behalf of the Reza Aslan Foundation. He called it. Yeah. But what it is, it was nothing but just a series of these horrible, really these childish ad hominem attacks against Sam Harris Dawkins and Hitchens, and at no point in it did he address what exactly they were criticizing Islam for. He just called them Islamophobes. He said that their followers are a bunch of yuppies, hipsters, and preppies. And
Who is this? If you say it is the case that Islam does and then say bad thing, and that's true, that's not Islamophobia.
no, it's not. No.
Just state the fact. I mean,
Quit being rational. Come on now.
But no, that's the thing.
Stop that. You're gonna turn me on.
If somebody read this article and they didn't know anything about Islam in the first place, they would come away knowing nothing about it other than that it's a religion.
Like, so he didn't say, they said this thing is wrong. Let me tell you what's right, and then they would say the correct thing. They didn't say the Bible, they just said that this guy's a poopy head for saying all these mean things.
Yeah, poopy head. That's really what it came down to. They're all poopy people. That's all it was. It was one of the worst articles I ever wrote, and it got about 100,000 likes on Facebook.
Well,
Hate usually does.
I'm curious
Thank you.
about what the consensus at the table is. Are we going to be rational enough to save the planet, save ourselves?
Yes.
We
Well,
are?
it
Yes.
defines
Low
it.
grade
We-
Islamist.
Yeah.
Yes. It may take a dangerous close, but yes, I would say.
This is when
It'd be
I
nice
say
if we did.
you can't
Oh, no,
do
not the
that.
actor.
Because most people can maybe they're not rationalists, but they're empiricists. Things that start actually affecting them in their real world, it's hard to go, oh well, no. When you start seeing Florida disappear, people are going to go, we need to do something now. I mean, look, California for how long has been in drought, and they just realized maybe we should have some restrictions. I don't know.
If Florida drowns, maybe Social Security will be solvent again. I'm sorry about that.
Hey, I'm with you.
It's because I've seen,
I'll answer your question.
seen
I
drawings.
I live in Florida as we escaped from the plane.
Can you send it to me too?
I'm not saying that it's a, it should, I'm not saying that it should be ignored or anything.
Can you email it to me? I definitely want to go. If you're willing to have me, I'm pretty radical.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
You know,
Yeah, 'cause we had my teachers.
But she says, well,
talking to us about
we're sure we're not gonna, we get our conversations, we're gonna do our.
I'm pretty much that.
yeah.
I'm totally agnostic about that.
Did you post a link to that article on the meetup? Did you do that?
Oh,
Since you got
tell me about it.
Naked versus
The one that I
on my
was-
blog, was we saw Wicked versus King. But I mean, for example, chess.
What are you putting on there?
I mean, it's
Just a
really
link
hard.
to the, to the article.
It's
I did
because
the-
it's not going to change tomorrow.
I did several here. I did Illing.
That's what I meant.
Okay, yes.
You did already?
Yes, I've got the full title
This
there.
other thing,
Oh, good.
it's too late. It's like a high school change the situation. So it's actually fascinating. Where, I mean, there's a lot of social issues are winged because
This new atheism, fatal arrogance, the glaring intellectual laziness of Bill Maher and Richard Dawkins.
Oh, no, I'm glad you did, because you explained it way better than I could.
I mean, it's one of these things where you think, okay, I can kind of see these two things, but when you see, I mean, I'm just drawing an example, when you see the different categories, you know, you'll see, okay, now I'm really getting my head around that class of problem. I'm kind of getting it.
Although I seem to recall there were other terms.
Credit card? There could be, I've only heard Wicked versus, I mean, it's about
Like no other.
Oh, right.
Hard versus soft.
Somebody else.
well, it's not like, I mean, like chess is really hard, Go is harder.
Jordan.
We're not talking about
Because they
that.
don't know what else to do with us.
Wicked problems are ones that don't really
To me,
need solutions.
Yeah, that's a good point. You try to kind of ameliorate, you don't
Yes,
solve it.
exactly. Yeah.
And then you know, if you got it figured out today, maybe that solution just stops working after a while. They got to do it again. So, which is exactly what happened.
It's like you have a lot of rats, so then you get a bunch of cats, and then you have all these cats, so you get a bunch of dogs, and then you have all these dogs. It's kind of like that.
I mean, that's the word.
You get gorillas.
It just, then you get gorillas.
And wait for them to finish that
You've
comment.
seen what I mean.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
That's from The Simpsons. Oh, what they do is, there's, Bart introduces this species of lizards that kills birds on sight, but it turns out it gets rid of the Springfield's pigeon problem. But then they're like, oh wait, what are we gonna do about the lizards? And it's like, oh, we'll introduce this animal, then this animal, then we'll introduce gorillas, we'll get those. And like, what's gonna happen then? Oh, they'll freeze to death in the winter.
I'm getting to be an older and older atheist myself. I totally doubt.
Well, it's like introducing mongoose in Hawaii to take care of that problem, which they might well have, but then they also eat the native birds, and you know, you kind of watch out.
He looked at me and said, "You do not."
That's the problem. Anyway,
How many birthdays
in the 50s in Borneo, they had a problem with mosquitoes. So they say, I know what to do with mosquitoes, we use DDT. There you go, the problem solved. So they just bombard the whole this area with DDT. It kills the mosquitoes. It also made the bugs. It kills the bugs. So the geckos eat the bugs, and then the geckos die. I mean, like, okay, so what? Because now there's no geckos to eat the bugs, and the bugs, not bugs, the whatever. Then they eat the roof.
Oh, I see.
They eat the roof, so the patch roof. So now you're getting roofs falling down because you spray the mosquitoes, like, you know, have a heart infection. Also, there was a rat
Well, you
problem.
can just say you forgot and then you
Forgot how
probably.
the rats came in, but then they brought in cats. It was just this crazy thing. I mean, this whole cascade of things because they used DDT. And you know, the lesson, the moral is understand the entire thing before you do something drastic.
Not to mention all the side effects of
But
DDT.
you know, at the same time, I mean, which is to some extent impossible. So I guess the other thing is be nimble or try things in a small way.
But isn't there a way to actually, I know they do with in California, what they were doing where they got med flies was a problem. So they introduced med flies that genetically had been modified to mate, but would be sterile or something like that. Yeah. So they would say, I was in, almost got involved, and they had a big bucket of them. They go to the plane and dump them out.
And all the males go find females and make
Yeah.
Generally.
So I'm just saying, there's more of it. I think that's the difference between using sometimes a too direct scientific as opposed to a more like biological approach.
Right.
I use it to cats, but you can use something different. That's like you said, looking at the big picture of how to attack the problem without causing ecological damage in the process.
Oh, I think I know what the thing was. The geckos used to be fast enough to get away from the cats, but they weren't anymore because they were poisoned. So the cats ate the geckos, and the cats died. That's what brought the rats on. So you had rats and no roofs because you did it. So. But you just point, I already had you in there.
Well, the thing is, if they tested this in one area, it sounds like they did this all the
Very widespread. And it's the kind of thing where, we did it in Iowa, we do it in all kinds of places, no problem, we'll just take care of this. I mean, how big do you want?
What I mentioned to you.
As opposed to, we're going to do this, and then come back in a year and see how it works.
in like one little
Whether it be
area.
a religious
Right.
person or a politically
Well, they didn't use the scientific
If
method.
we begin to tell them what to vote.
Well, I suppose what they would say is, we think we did because we have tested DDT in place, all these places.
I didn't know any of that. They didn't.
I should just also answer the question. They used it in India successfully to take care of the mosquitoes. They were from, I think it was 100 million cases of malaria per year.
You'll have it there as returned.
Wow. That's what you can do. And as the people come in, the distributors from the West come in and say, oh, we found out that it affects the wildlife.
Like what I say to
Just like
everyone I'm on the phone with.
They say, I don't think so.
He saved all that.
We don't want to go back 100 million cases per freaking year.
And I said, yeah.
So, I think actually the way DDT is still used in countries that hold half the world's population of birds, China, India, and so on, I'm not sure how widespread, but they're much more careful
What has he done about
how
climate?
they use it.
You need to be careful.
Which doesn't mean that that's still a good thing to do, but it's
Like
more
who
better
would
than
you
using it.
tell?
Well, they can develop a resistance. That's the thing. Like one of the things in
It'll be sort of self-limiting after a while, there's just no point, exactly.
Rachel Carson,
All right,
the
goodbye.
scientist,